All right, are we here? All right. Property selling condition report. Seller seller's property disclosure statement. This is the car form. This is in Georgia. If you are looking to buy a house, this is probably what you're going to see about the seller filled out. I'm also going to go into another version of it if it was sold by an investor and they did not live in it. But we're going to dive into this one first. Before I get into that, this is investing in Georgia. This is Georgia-specific information about Georgia real estate and construction here. And this is obviously looking at the condition of a house before you purchase it. I'm a contractor and realtor. If you have any questions, leave them below. You know where I'm at. My contact information is down there too. You gotta reach out to me if you have questions. I do consulting and I do agency and also do construction stuff if you need help with that. All right, let's dive in. Especially, this is where the seller's property condition report statement. This is where they got to tell you everything that's wrong with the house. Anything, and I'm going to go to the verbiage of what they say, etc. as well. Before I just keep rambling on and on about what I'm going to do, let's just do it. All right. Oh, sorry. Picture in picture isn't working. How about this? There we are. There we are. And I'm going to make it bigger for you. Obviously, I don't see that. All right, so how do I do... I am sorry. I did not prepare enough. What was the thing? The three little dots, and you do full screen. Here we go. Here we go. Properties. And the other one for the investors is just shorter. You can watch this at the end if you want to take a look at it. I'll put a timestamp in it. But it's all the same. It's just a much more streamlined version of it. Even if they haven't lived in the house, they have to say there's anything that they know is wrong with it. Pardon me, let me take a drink. Starting off this video, distractions. This seller's property disclosure statement is an exhibit to the purchase and sale agreement with an offer date of dot dot dot. You fill that in for the property of da 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 in da 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 Georgia. Da 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 da. This statement is intended to make it easier for seller to fully fulfill the seller's legal duty to disclose hidden defects in the property which the seller is aware. Seller is obliged to disclose such defects even when the property is being sold as is. I'm going to go a step back again. So the way these things are supposed to be done, obviously if there's an obvious issue with something and you don't have any more information about it, you don't have to say what it is. Put it all out there to begin with. But you don't want them to finding out all this stuff and have this barrage of information during the inspection period, because that's when the seller has less power and the buyer has more power. So if you are filling this out for yourself on selling a property, this is, I would expose everything up front so you can have it up front. Then when you come into the inspection period and they give you pushback about they found something that you knew was there, you say, hey, that was in the original thing. So, instructions to seller in completing this statement. In completing this statement, the seller agrees to answer all questions in reference to the property and improvements on the property. Answer all questions fully, accurately, into the accurate knowledge and belief of all sellers. I'm not going to get into the definition of knowledge. Provide additional... Oh, never mind. Herein collectively known as knowledge. Provide additional explanations to all yes answers. And if prior to closing there are any material changes, you have to tell everybody. How the statement should be used by the buyer. Caveat emptor, or buyer beware, is the law in Georgia. Buyer should conduct a thorough inspection of the property. If the seller has not occupied or recently occupied the property, seller's knowledge of the property condition may be limited. Buyer is expected to use reasonable care to inspect the property and confirm it's suitable for buyer's purposes. If an inspection of the property reveals problems or areas of concern that would cause a reasonable buyer to investigate further, buyer should investigate further. A yes or no answer to the question means yes or no to the actual knowledge and belief of all sellers of the property. In other words, if the seller answers no to a question, it means the seller either affirmatively knows that the answer to the question is a no, or has no knowledge which such condition exists on the property. As such, seller's answer should not be taken as warranty or a guarantee of the actual condition of the property, nor a substitute for buyer doing own due diligence. I don't know if y'all could hear that, but one of my kids' toys that randomly goes off has been going off. So if you heard it tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, it randomly does it, and it always turns off by the time you can get close enough and figure out which one it is. It's been doing that for like 2 days. My kids have not been here, so I can't ask them. All right. Seller disclosures. What year is the main what year was it constructed? Obviously. Is it vacant? How long has it been since it's been occupied? Is anything on the property leased? Is the property designated as a historic or historic district, where permission must be received to make modifications and additions? You got questions about historic houses? That is me. I used to specialize in historics and new construction in historic districts, which is a whole other level of. Okay. Oh, did I? Hold on. Let me make sure I'm in picture-in-picture mode. Am I in picture-in-picture mode? You can see all this, right? Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I just want to make sure I'm not doing all this for no reason. Oh, yeah, I gotta go up here. Let me make sure I'm in picture-in-picture mode, so you're not. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. So now I gotta go back here and go big again. Because if y'all are just looking at my face and not looking at this form, I'm probably start all over again. Covenants, fees, and assessments. So, if the property is subject to a recorded declaration of covenants, conditions, and restrictions, these can be a lot of different things, whether like can be as small as a little cable box in your yard sometimes. Sometimes they are road widening, sometimes they're big old power things. Sometimes you might share a driveway, etc. You have to read all those. And also a community association. It's an HOA. Not all HOAs are bad. If you're opposed to HOAs, some of them aren't bad. Depends on the size and the power. I recall it's a POA. What's the difference? POA has a lot more power. That's some of the smaller, especially HOAs. They don't really have too much power, except for foreclose if you don't pay for it. They're not gonna. You can't get fined for like not pressure washing your house every day. Lead-based paint. I have a whole video on lead-based paint if you want to dive into that. Structural items, additions, and alterations. Has there been any settling, cracking, or breaking of the foundation or structural supports of any movements? Have any structural reinforcements or supports been added? Have there been any additions, structural changes, or or many other major alterations to the original improvements on the property, including, without limitation, pools, carports, or storage areas. Has any work been done and a required building permit was not attained? Are there violations of building codes, housing codes, zoning regulations not otherwise grandfathered in? Almost every home has building code violations. As long as it was built under code at the time, that's what we're looking for. Because the codes change every few years. Have any notices alleging such violations been received? I'm going to speed this up, guys. Is any portion of the main dwelling a mobile or manufactured home? Is any dwelling or portion thereof, excluding mobile, moved to the site from another location? Oh, excluding. I said I was going faster. Has any part of the HVAC been touched? All these questions about so HVAC, is there anything not served by central heat and air? Is any portion in need of replacement? Does the dwelling have aluminum wiring other than the primary service line? A lot of people hear aluminum wiring, like, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. It's the solid aluminum wiring. As long as it's the braided stuff, you're fine. As long as it should have some, like, looks like petroleum jelly on there. But yeah, as long as it's the braided aluminum wiring, it's going to be in your service line. It's going to be fine. It's the solid core aluminum that would be the individual wires would be your issue. Are any fireplaces decorative only or need a repair? There been any reports of damaging moisture behind exterior walls with synthetic stucco? One of the downsides of stucco is, if you don't, the way they layer it, I don't remember all the details, but if you don't, some of they had issues with water getting behind it. So they have a chicken wire basically put on, and then they mud it on there. And a lot of times the water got in the back of it and just kind of, it all falls off in big chunks. Then it never looks good when they rematch it. Is there any spray, polyurethane, foam, insulation in the property? I should do a whole video on the positives and negatives of spray foam. They're pretty much all out there. The positives, encloses in your house well. It seals all the air gaps. First of all, there's two types. There's closed cell and open cell. Closed cell is really good. Closed cell is better. Open cell is less good. Open cell, if I'm going from memory, open cell is the one that's basically the great stuff, expanding foam. Because then it doesn't expand as much. It's also a lot more expensive. It does a really good job sealing all the cracks, which is good. The downsides are, from a construction point of view, it's gonna be hard to find a leak. If you have it in your attic, especially, that stuff it's gonna absorb water. So if you have a leak in your roof and you have it on the roof, it's just gonna absorb, and spread it out. It's gonna keep water on the wood, and it's gonna keep it from getting to the drywall. So it's just gonna get wetter and wetter and wetter, and all of a sudden you're gonna have a big old water issue that you didn't know when it was just a tiny little leak. And also puts off smelly stuff that's bad for your lungs. I've used it, especially on historic renovations, when you just don't have the wall space to get the insulation amount required, because it's denser than regular. Are there any systems, components subject to a lease or rental payment? Oh, like you rent your HVAC, etc. Are there any remote leak access thermostats, lighting systems, etc.? The water heater, age. Is it from a well? Is there anything that's been tested bad? What is the water system? Is it public, private, or a sewer system? That's how we're talking about water. I was like, do you have public water? You have private water, saying like a well, or do you use septic tank water? Neither. This is your sewer system. Sorry. Is the property served by septic system? How many bedrooms? So the way they size septic systems is based off the bedrooms. It's not, it has nothing to do with the bathrooms and toilets, etc. It's remembered by the number of people that live there, because that's how they estimate the size of. That's by how many bedrooms. So if you have a smaller, a lot of times they'll be like a larger house, like 2 bedrooms. They can only ever have 2 bedrooms, and you see it in the country. Especially, there might be a reason because they can't say it's a 3-bedroom, because then they need to redo the septic tank. Has it been serviced? Are there any leaks? Do you presently polybutylene plumbing? I did a whole thing on polybutylene plumbing. That's a good video for you to watch. I think I did, huh? Yeah, full video of polybutylene plumbing. No, I don't like it. It's bad stuff. Has there been damage from frozen water lines, spigot, or fixture? Roof gutters and downspouts. Age of the roof. Any been issues? And any other leaks? Flooding and other intrusion. How many pages is this? We're in a total of 7 pages. I am page 3, 4. Okay. One more solid page. Then it gets a little faster. Flooding and water intrusion. Excluding water intrusion caused by plumbing, has there been any water intrusion or physical damage to the property caused by, or its improvements and or contents caused by water from the exterior of the improvements? Flood. Has there been any insurance claim covered for national insurance program or a private flood insurance policy? Have any repairs been made to the property or improvements located on the property as a result of a flood? Have you received any notification regarding the designation of the property as a repetitive loss property or severe loss property? Has seller notification regarding federal insurance required about the requirement to gain federal insurance for floods? Is flood insurance required by the current mortgagee? Does any part of the property fall within a 100-year, 500-year floodplain as designated by FEMA? Little thing I learned. Some insurance companies just do a thing of like if any section of your yard is in the 100-year floodplain, they will not cover you. I had a house that was basically the whole thing was uphill, like it was a walkout basement. It was like the main house, and nothing not in the basement was well above the flood line. However, there was a little corner that was a part of the lot which went down and took part of the runoff flood. The sewer lines and all that, like where it went to a creek and all that. And so I didn't get insurance for that because one little tiny corner of the lot was within a 100-year floodplain. I guess they didn't want to do a research on that. I had no problem finding it, but the one I really wanted to use, I used before. They didn't offer that. Are there any retention ponds? Are there any streams, springs, or ponds that only flow or are not, or only visible during certain times of the year? Soils and boundaries. Are there any landfills other than foundation backfill? Graves, burial pits, caves, mine shafts, trash dumps, or wells in use or abandoned? Is there now, or have there ever been, any visible soil settlement or movement? Is there any shared improvements which benefit the burden of the property included but not limited to a share of dock, septic system, well, driveway, alleyway, or private road? Are there presently any encroachments, unrecorded easements, unrecorded agreements regarding shared improvements or boundary lines disputes with a neighboring property owner? Rolls off the tongue, right? And are there any underground pipes crossing the property that do not serve the property? So yeah, obviously if you check all these yes or no explanation. Termites, dry rot, pests, and wood destroying organisms. Are there any wildlife accessing the attic, other interior portions of the residence? Is there any damage or hazardous condition resulting from such wildlife intrusion from insects such as termites, bugs, bees, ants, or by fungi or dry rot? Is there presently a bond, warranty, or service company or contract for termites or other wood-destroying organisms by a licensed pest control company? If yes, what is the cost to transfer? What's the annual cost? What's the name? The company name? Is it for retreat and repair, retreatment, periodic inspections only, expiration date, and renewal date? We're getting faster. We're getting faster. Told you. Told you. Environmental, health, and safety concerns. Is there any underground tanks or toxic or hazardous substances such as asbestos? I have a whole... Actually, no, I didn't do a video on asbestos. I did a video on lead, which are part of asbestos. But... Has methamphetamine, meth, ever been produced on the property? If the house smells really bad like cat pee, it's probably not cat pee. It's probably meth. Have there ever been adverse tests for radon, lead, mold, or other potentially toxic or environmental hazardous substances? Litigation and insurance. Is there now, or have there ever been any litigation therein aligning negligent construction or defective building products? Is there I have a whole series on defective building products. It's one of my favorite things to do. Has there ever been any award or payment of money in lieu of repairs for defective building products or poor construction? Hopefully, if you listen to me, you will be able to look out for houses that were poorly constructed and or with poor building materials. Has any release been signed regarding defective building products or poor construction that would limit a future owner from making any claims? It's like a class action already been closed, etc. During seller's ownership, have there been any insurance claims for more than 10% of the value of the property? Is the property subject to any pending condemnation action? How many insurance claims have been filed in the seller's ownership? Are there any hidden defects that have not otherwise been disclosed? All right, agricultural disclosure. This is not in my specialty, but let's go through it. Is the property within, partially within, or adjacent to a properly zoned or identified on an approved county land use plan as agricultural or forestry use? Is anything around you agricultural or forestry use? Is the property receiving preferential tax treatment as an agricultural property? So basically saying this policy to let me try to go by memory. They have tax benefits for agricultural stuff. Additional explanations. A lot of times this will be filled out with all the, oh yeah, and the remote control for the garage door doesn't work, and we did this one time, the roof repair. Always put this stuff in. they're going to find it, and during the inspection, you want them to know about it ahead of time, even if you don't necessarily have to disclose it because it's like obvious. Just put it in there. It's going to save you. Negotiation is going to use, because you don't want people seeing the inspection report and then getting scared. You want them to be scared before they make an offer, because that is when you still have the most power as the seller. Or if you're the buyer and you're looking at this and you're like, this stuff wasn't, they didn't mention, well, I guess you're in the buyer, at least you should know, you can tell how honest they're being to begin with. If they're being honest and they're putting all this like little detail, it makes you feel a little bit better. All right, items not remaining with the property. So I'm not going to get into all the nuances of this one. That's a whole lot of reading. So obviously we got your clothes dryers. I think an example is specific one they give here. So I might go over this twice. So like if you have 2 refrigerators, you just want to say which refrigerator it is. This is what's staying with the house. This stuff conveys, correct? Yeah. This is the stuff that is conveying to the new owner. You got to check these things, because if you think you're going to get that nice $5,000 refrigerator, for example, and it wasn't checked and they take it, you're going to be moving in on day one like, I don't have a refrigerator. But they can take any of this stuff. You just want to make sure all this stuff is checked that you expect to be in there. And if there's anything, it can be windows, shutters, window draperies. I'd say, in window blinds. So let's just say, just be clear if there's spots for clarification regarding multiple items. I've had a buyer that thought they were getting the blinds, not the blinds themselves, the wall, the window coverings or whatever, like the drapes. And basically it came down to a big thing at the final walkthrough, and I was like, I just gave it to them, even though they were my stagers, and they didn't give them to me for free. Is there any other thing that you need repaired? So yeah, that's why you just write all this stuff down. There's additional forms you can have as additional information on that. You just write, here's more information. See this additional piece of paper. See. All right, so buyer, seller, additional people signing. All right, so that is the full one. Now we are going to get into the much shorter, the investor one, as is kind of commonly known as, if they didn't live there. So I'm going to go to this, and 125, and I'm going to go big right there. So they still have to say if there's anything defective. And it says whether they occupied, it's not them occupies, or was not the most recent, or has never occupied. And say, are there known effects or no known effects? And then they get the agricultural disclosure, fixtures checklist. It's still the same. It's a little shorter, I think. Items not remaining with the property, and items remaining with the property. And it's going to go through the details, about if it's in good shape and all that. Clarification. Oh yeah, here's that refrigerator one. That example I gave earlier. I just need to repair. So it's much shorter, because they don't have full knowledge. Yeah, hopefully that's a shorter one than some of my other videos. That's what you can expect. Oh, look, you want to see me. You want to see me again, right? Look at me, look at me. I believe I can fly. Right. That is what's in the property condition report. And that's what you should look out for. The investors do need to do that too, even if they haven't lived in it. Sometimes they say they don't, and sometimes brokers get away. I've let people get away without doing that. To my knowledge, everything I know, even if as an investor, you still have to disclose all that stuff. So yeah, this is Alan. I'm just investing in Georgia. If there's anything wrong in there, just let me know. I don't think I did anything wrong. Never. Please like, comment, share, subscribe if you're still here. If you have any questions about Georgia real estate, construction, I do consulting. I help you buy houses. I can I'll actually do some renovations for you if you want, potentially. If you have any questions, I'm here below. I'm Alan. Thanks.